All right, as you know, it is the 7 o'clock hour on a Monday. It is the reason why Monday is no longer my seventh favorite day of the week. It's because the boys are in town and they're on the air. Brother Nick, Brother Steve, Brother Mark are here for the SHOPO Hour. Nick, a very good morning.
Morning. Thanks. Sorry I've been away for a little while, but happy to be back now. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely so. And how was that vacation overseas?
No.
Traveling the world?
No world traveling. No, just the other job, the real job, the police job.
Working hard. Absolutely. Brother Nick, glad you're back.
Thank you.
Brother Steve, aloha to
good
you.
morning, brother. Always happy and grateful, Rick, to be here with you and your listeners.
It's a pleasure to see you.
You too, brother.
We are going to try and drink 14 Monster energy drinks in this hour alone. Brother Mark Criccio, have you brushed up on your Egyptian?
Not yet.
No.
You know, my skin color's not the same for that language.
Right out of the gate. I love it.
I just gotta figure the words "don't kidnap me." That's all, you know. But happy Monday to everybody.
Happy Monday. As a matter of fact, we're just about a month away.
Yep.
Golly.
Looking forward to it.
It is the SHOPO Hour. Steve Keogh, tell us all about SHOPO, mission, and how it's accomplished.
Sure, Rick, happy to do that. SHOPO is the labor organization that represents police officers throughout the state of Hawaii. We represent 4 counties, Maui, the Big Island, Kauai, and Honolulu. We were founded in 1971, and we're the advocate that help the men and women that wear the uniform get better working conditions, and we take care of them while they take care of the communities.
Nick, as a county chair, would you like to expand or add to that?
Well, that's about it. Yeah, I mean, we work hard. We work all the time. It's a 24/7 operation, always out there trying to help out our membership and advocate for police officers.
Yeah. And Brother Mark, as a retired major, while you were in service, what was the relationship with you and SHOPO, and how does it meld with the administrative side?
Oh, I got along good with him. I mean, we had a really, really good working relationship because when I was there, Chief Ballard was there, and it was, to me, we had a really good relationship with them. It wasn't adversarial. You know, we wanted to work together, and Chief Ballard actually wanted to do a lot for the membership. So
right.
It was good.
If I can piggyback off the question you just asked, Mark,
Sure.
I think it's important for the listeners to realize that as a labor organization, the leadership actually works for the departments. In other words, some labor organizations hired outside people to represent them. Every person on the SHOPO state board and on the local boards, the local chapters, they're all working police officers. They all have full-time responsibilities as working police serving the community, and then they segue from that, and then they advocate on behalf of the membership.
Excellent. I would like to, Brother Nick, if you could talk about membership. How does one become a member of SHOPO, for instance? Is it automatic, and then to maintain membership, what do members literally do?
Well, membership is not automatic.
Okay.
Any police officer within all 4 counties has the option to choose not to be part of the police union.
Okay.
That is a precedent that's been set by the Supreme Court recently within the last few years.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, if they do choose to be a member, obviously, they do have monthly dues that they do have to pay, which entitles them to all sorts of benefits that we do offer, all sorts of different things. What's it like to be a member of this organization? Well, essentially, I mean, you're one of over 2,000 people that are out there doing the job every day, but you're also part of a group that is fighting for your hours of work, your conditions of work, your salaries, and trying to make the best light of what you do for the community to the rest of the community out there.
Awesome. Thanks for the clear definition of terms. Speaking of which, could we get just before we do, I want to acknowledge, of course, Officer Sapolu's memorial and thoughts about the event that honored such a great officer and more.
So I went on Friday. Really, really nice service, and whenever you go to those things, it's just heartbreaking to see the family, and then, he had 2 young daughters, a young son, right? And one thing that got me, and I bet you there was not a dry eye in the place when his daughters read a letter to him. Both his daughters read letters to him, during the service, right? So, but it was a really, really nice service. A lot of people showed up. It's good to see. But one thing I didn't see was a lot of politicians. Where were they? I didn't see the police commission. I didn't see the mayor. I didn't see the governor. Well, the governor was touting climate change someplace in New York.
United Nations.
Yeah, but to me, this is someone who gave his life for his community. And you, as elected official or an official to represent your city and state, you get your butt there and you show respect to the family. To me, that's disrespectful not showing up, And the other thing for me was, I don't watch TV local news. I just got the apps and I'll see what's on the apps, right? But there was not a mention of this service on the apps that I saw, right? And that's a disgrace also, Show tribute to this person. Not only was he an officer, he served in the National Guard. He went overseas, fought for his country. Musician. He was amazing in the community. What a human being. And you should honor him properly. So for those people that didn't show up, shame on them. But the family, for the people that did show up, were very, very appreciative. So it was a nice turnout.
Before we move on, Brother Steve, Brother Nick, thoughts?
So I'd just like to thank everybody who did show up from the community to Officer Sapolu's services. There are three basic events of the day: the service, the pass and review, and then the final salute. Anybody who wanted to participate in the event could go to any one of those parts and either be there in support or show some type of recognition. It was very, very nice to see those who did turn out. I want to thank the department for all the effort that it put into memorializing the situation. Those of us who are police officers in this county, the short time I've been doing this job, we've been to a few line of duty deaths, and each one is a very hallowed, sacred sort of event for us, honoring the officers who gave the ultimate sacrifice in the line of duty. But I enjoyed being there, and I certainly do thank those who showed up and those who put everything they could into making that day a special day.
Fantastic. Thank you, Nick.
Rick, I think Bill's legacy obviously is going to live on through his children. I think that everyone that knew Bill in the department has their own memories of him, and we will cherish that. And he died with honor. He died a hero. He paid the ultimate sacrifice to keep the community safe. And as far as the comments that Mark made, Rick, that's why we're really thankful and feel fortunate to have this interaction with you once a week, where we can engage with the community and we can put information out there so the community feels closer to the men and women that wear the badge. Because sometimes maybe in mainstream media, that doesn't happen. So we're thankful every week to be here with you, brother.
It is a pleasure, absolute pleasure. And I want to thank the three of you for really creating a special memory for us. And I believe that the three of you and your colleagues have honored Officer Sapolu and his family. And thank you very much for starting our time together today, rightfully so, with Officer Bill. So, appreciation, much appreciation. Short break. It is that time already. It is 7:18. Let's find out. All right, once again, 7:20 in the morning. Gentlemen, we're going to start taking telephone calls, which are paramount to the SHOPO Hour. Telephone number 521-8383. Love for you to be a part of the program. We go here in Honolulu And Richard joins us today. And Richard, I want to thank you for your call. You're on with the SHOPO fellas. Good morning.
Good morning. Okay, I attended the service for the fallen police officer on Friday. It was impeccably done. However, the mayor was there front and center all the way through. I want to make that correction. I didn't see the police chief, though. Okay?
All right, Richard, thank you for the contribution.
Okay. I stand corrected. Good.
Good.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The chief was there. And
See,
yeah.
I mean, here we go.
The chief and his command staff was there.
I just want to, I appreciate the call. I appreciate everything, but I appreciate keeping Officer Bill and the memorial above reproach, because the heart, when you started, Mark, talking about when his daughter's,
oh my God.
I mean,
You got to be there.
so, but anyway, Richard, thank you.
Thanks for the correction, Richard.
7:22 in the morning. I have a question, and this has to do with Kauai, if you don't mind, because I'm just curious. Process, procedure, and all this. I jotted these down, not even after my first cup of coffee this morning. So just be prepared. I'm not sure where I'm going to go. But in October of 22 last year, you had shared that KPD officers were expressing frustration within the department and had commented about a lack of leadership at that time. Now, that's a year ago, just about a year ago. Now, in conjunction with the search for a murder suspect and the Kauai police chief going public to say, I'm talking directly to his name, I have it here, Santos, come on in. You got to come on in. Because it's been a couple of weeks in that search. I want to get your take, if I could, on protocol, process, the environment for KPD, and what your thoughts would be on the bearing of this investigation. And is it unprecedented that a police chief would petition a suspect to come in?
I don't, Rick, as I'm listening to your question, why not ask? Now, do I think that's going to happen? That time will tell. I know right now that two of our state board members, you have Bobby Thompson, who's the Kauai chair, Bobby T, and then you have Kenny, our secretary. Both of those guys, acting captain and sergeant, they've been full force on as part of the unit trying to apprehend this guy. So I think nothing's off the table. Obviously, you want to resolve this peacefully. Maybe, the last thing you want is some kind of suicide by cop scenario, because that creates a dangerous environment for everybody. Kauai is our smallest department we have. It's also probably a very close-knit community. So I think appeals to the community for assistance, appeals to the individual himself. It can't hurt. Mm-hmm. But obviously, as this goes on longer and longer and longer, I know that our federal partners are over there. I know the U.S. Marshals have gotten involved. So there is a collaborative effort among various law enforcement agencies to attempt to apprehend this individual.
Yeah. Some people would be thinking it's Kauai. Where can you really hide on Kauai unless you take it to an nth degree of disappearing into parts unknown? And again, I'm not trying to be disrespectful in any way to the investigation. It's just curiously, it's been so prolonged. It's an individual that's known. And I think the messaging that if anybody assists, harbors, etc., they have to know you're on the hook too if you even consider doing this.
So, I mean, the possibility is he could be getting help. We don't know.
Yeah.
And, but anything to resolve it peacefully. So why not come out? Why not come out and try anything to do it peacefully? Yeah. They don't want it to end bad. Let's put it that way.
Right. So. Right. I opened with a year ago that it was expressed. How are things now, to turn to Steve, maybe statewide, as far as tone, tenor, leadership, the reactions a year later from your members on Kauai?
Sure. So obviously the membership on Kauai, they're first and foremost focused on serving the community. Any relationship with the administration takes a backseat to them performing their duties honorably every single day. Right now on Kauai, we are discussing a modified work schedule on Kauai. That's what I can share with you.
Okay.
Talk about is, do they want to change the work schedule? Do they not? So that's currently what SHOPO is doing in regards to the relationship with the administration.
Gotcha.
And we always strive, we always feel that communication is key. And whether that's through our membership surveys and keeping everybody in the loop on everything. So, but again, Rick, they're so focused on apprehending this individual that literally all union stuff has kind of just come to a screeching halt. In fact, because that their work priorities, Kenny and Bobby's work priorities are front and center, we've actually had to excuse them from certain union activities and responsibilities so they can be all hands on deck over there. And just to piggyback off Mark was saying, again, we don't want to speculate, but
Right.
you can't do this alone. You can't hide. If there is a manhunt for you, I don't think you can do this all by yourself.
Yeah.
I don't want to speculate, but clearly there must be some moving parts here about assistance and help, because you couldn't just do it. And when you talk about getting the U.S. Marshals in here, that's their forte. They're all about apprehending fugitives. So when you talk about bringing the federal partners in, clearly you like to use this tone and tenor. There's a tone and tenor of a seriousness now that the federal partners have come in. And again, hopefully this individual is apprehended without creating a danger to the community and with no loss of life.
Amen. Just another procedural. When there's a manhunt underway and we're all an island state, what's the process for transportation off an island, whether it's by sea, by air? How is that affected to ensure that an individual cannot flee on a flight, on a boat, etc.?
So without going into too much detail or revealing any secrets, are there processes to make sure that people can't get on an airplane or travel out of state if they are wanted for certain situations?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes, they are out there. There are ways to flag people in those systems, in those databases, so that our partners at the airports or at the harbors know that if they encounter this person and this person is trying to get on an airplane or leave, that yes, they are to be held. And we will show up and do what we have to do at that point.
Gotcha.
That's why, Rick, you're showing your ID when you go through TSA. They scan it. It's the purpose of that. You got to have the star on your ID anyway. It's all tied in. Yeah, he's not getting off. This person's not flying out of Kauai to go to the mainland. That's not happening.
In fact, I can give you one example that's actually quite old and outdated, and it's a bit harmless. But many years ago, when I worked in the Kalihi district, we had the airport naturally there. So I got called to a case where the Customs and Immigration wanted us to do what's called a runaway cancellation. Essentially, a juvenile was still an outstanding runaway. They had encountered this person, and they needed us to come and process the person and close the case. This person was an adult by that point, but they had been declared an outstanding runaway several years beforehand. They had left the country with one parent. They were declared an outstanding runaway by another parent. Here they are returning into the country as an adult, and they're still flagged, right? And so that's how thorough it was, right? And a runaway is a status offense. It's not criminally illegal, right? But still, yet they were still in the database as a runaway. We still had to go and close that case out. That's how thorough that system was.
So I'm going to be very juvenile and ask, is there a way, or has it been, that an individual can fake that identification to surpass TSA or anything else? And I'm not saying just for this case, just in general, because we hear about airport security at times where there are actual firearms that get on board. Again, just curious, is that a possibility in the days in which we live?
I mean, anything possible, right? As far as identifications and all that. However, we did have individuals commit crimes and then, did flee to the mainland, and they were caught in, LA or whatever.
Right.
But that was prior to the flagging, right?
Yeah.
So, who knows?
Yeah.
anything possible.
Just a line of Q&A. It is 7:30. Do we have to have a star on our ID now? Is that?
Yeah, that gold, that
Yeah,
star on the license. You
Either
have
that or-
you have to update it. There should be a star, Rick, top right corner.
Okay, I'm going to take my driver's license
Either that or
out.
use- passport
you
or-
probably didn't even realize it was there.
I got my passport's good, but oh, there it is.
Yep.
Okay, you're not illegal.
Yep.
Oh my goodness gracious!
Yeah.
I guess you're a citizen.
I guess buenos dias, todos los damas y caballeros. It is the SHOPO Hour, and gentlemen, thank you very much for that very first half hour. We have another half hour in front of us. Your telephone calls at 521-8383, and we'll continue. Welcome back. It is the SHOPO Hour on News Radio 830 5 pounds.
Sure.
News Radio 830 KHVH 737 in the morning. I have some stuff, topicality-wise, but I want to turn it over to the fellas while we still have plenty of time of what might be percolating for you, top of mind, in regard to virtually anything and everything. Recent experience, recent encounter, something in the news that caught your attention that you might want to opine about. Anything along those lines, whatever you would like to share about any topic. And I'll turn to Brother Mark because he has a pad of paper and a script.
That's empty.
And video and...
I really got nothing, man. I mean, I don't know.
Okay. No, I just always want to check in
Yeah.
and make sure we have time to have a chat about whatever's top of mind.
You know, Rick, we had an opportunity just in the last week to connect with police union leadership across the country.
Okay.
And when you get about 100 cops in the room, it can always be entertaining. But there was some top of mind topics that really came out when you had the union leadership all in the same room. And one was building meaningful relationship with the communities that they serve. That was top of mind. The other thing that was top of mind was mental health for law enforcement professionals. You know, that was top of mind. And the stigma with that, you know, if I'm on the job and I break a bone, I can put a cast on, and in 8 weeks I can pretty much be back and medically cleared. So we had robust discussion about a lot of different topics. But when you get in a room like that, the level of patriotism, love for our country and love for people and the love of service is really paramount. And I can just personally say that I found it kind of reinvigorating. You know, you grind it out every day. We all have our own challenges in life. But when I was able, with others that serve on the SHOPO State Board, to come together with them and have a fellowship with the other union leaders from cities like California, New York, Canada, even outside the country, it just was inspiring for me. So kind of this personal testimony that reminding even myself why I got into this profession and why I'm doing what I'm doing. And again, just to come full circle, the commitment that law enforcement professionals really have to keeping the communities that they protect and serve safe, and really doing it for the right reasons.
It's very beneficial to have a communal exchange because you're singing out of the same hymnal and you can relate and et cetera, et cetera. Brother Nick?
So just to build on what Steve said, oftentimes when you're a law enforcement officer, you kind of get compartmentalized in your opinions of things. You think that only your department has these backwards nuances, or only your community has this lack of support, and that things might be better in other places for other police officers. But, you know, in reality, this profession it's the same wherever you go across the country. And that's one of the things that I always learn whenever I go to union events that have other union officials from other places there. Cops are cops no matter what. The job is the same. In fact, internationally, it's very much the same, right? It just depends on human nature, and human nature is very much the same no matter where you go across the world. And that really is a bonding thing amongst law enforcement. It's pretty amazing to know that you really are universal in that sense. And I can tell you that I've had conversations with people who We're police officers in places like Australia or New Zealand, and I've had conversations with people who are police officers in other counties in the state, and conversations with people who work in Maine or California, and it's epically universal how you could tell a story about something that you experienced on duty, and they'll have exactly the same story with just different faces and different names.
Yeah, love that. I'm going to ask the audience to share their thoughts. And the word support has come up quite a bit in our conversations. And I'd like folks to call in and express support for our officers. I'd also like the opportunity, if somebody does not support, to give us a call so we can get more of an idea of what's happening with the audience that joins us every Monday. So we'll do that till the top. So we'll entertain those calls. Call now. Don't run out of time. 521-8383. And it's the question of support. In the meantime, though, there has been conversations in the media. Here we go. But I had Chief Joe on Thursday. And it has to do about numbers. It has to do about statements in the press that say that Chief shares that there is a decrease in the level of crime, but then others are questioning, well, can we have some data, et cetera, et cetera. I'm going to put that off to the side for a moment, but also try and get a feeling from you gentlemen on the street, on patrol, on this, that, and the other, whether it's anecdotal or if you can cite empirical data. Where are we in the world of crime statistics, and what conclusions can we derive?
Well, stats could be manipulated any way you want, right? However, and you have these news organizations that just like you give them stats and they can pick and choose. They'll pick and choose what they want to actually broadcast, right? They don't tell the full story of all the stats, right? So I don't know what's going on with the chief's office and the news. What's going on. There's a little battle back and forth because the news is saying that they're not getting the stats from the chief's office. The chief's office is giving it to them. But we talked about it last week. Waikiki is down, right? You felt safe in your neighborhood, right? So, I don't know really what the news is looking for, but
I think the word, from what I understand, it's quantified. It's having source and what is the process of how data is accumulated and shared. And the chief had opined on his portion of the program. It's all online. I mean, They release and they have geographical maps and they pinpoint the type of crime. And so that is made available because I've gone on and I've actually referred to those stats. But then there's questions about the accuracy of what's being submitted.
So I'd like to say something about that.
Sure.
I take offense as a police officer if a department publishes a statistic that says the department's doing a good job and somebody actually questions it. That, for lack of a term, is a bunch of BS. I'm sorry. If the department is saying it's doing okay, come on, just take it for granted that we're actually out there trying and we're making a difference. What's wrong with the department publishing a good statistic that actually says, hey, we're getting the job done?
Yeah. But then we'd have to go on the other side is statistics can be utilized in any way. Is there a way to have true verification? What would be that authoritative if it's not going to be the chief and if it's not going to be, then what can the public say? That's it. Absolutely correct. Or, to your point, Brother Nick, why would you want to lie? Why would you obfuscate or give inaccurate, because you're going to get called on anything you release anyway. Again, this is just information and how we process.
So one thing the department did acknowledge, and they said they're working on it. They're working on a new system for stats to be published, because the crime mapping in some ways is inaccurate because it's where the crime is reported. So it's not necessarily where the crime actually took place. That's where the crime mapping is.
See, now that I'm glad you mentioned that, because that was one of the bones of contention that was cited.
Yes. So, and the department did acknowledge that they are working on another system to be more accurate, right? So, I lost my other thought.
No, I think it boils down to this.
Yeah.
Is that how are you feeling and what is your sense?
Well, the other thing I wanted to bring up, I read a little bit of that article, and they're citing, murders went up from like 3 to 5, sex assaults went up from this to that, but to me that's not accurate stats to say the department's not doing their job, because you can't go by murders, you can't go by sex assault, because it's just more like a crime of passion or crime of impulse. So you cannot say that it's the police department's fault that those things are happening.
Because I think one that was cited was East Honolulu.
Yes.
And 200% increase was. So you see that number. Exactly. And it's like, but it was actually from 1 to 3.
Yes. Rick, I was just going to say that, Bud, that you obviously, when numbers, you want to be as accurate as possible. You want to be transparent, and you want to speak accurately. And if you misquote a number here and there, you can correct it. But yeah, when you deal in percentages, it can definitely be
leave an impression.
Yeah, 300%. When you talk about, it went from 1 to 3 or 1 to 4. That.
Yeah. Calls, if you don't mind, before the next traffic update. Enjoying the conversation as always, and appreciative of the fellas in studio. And we're going to go to the phone lines. Thank you for taking the time to give us a call. Eric and Mililani, thank you for taking the time, and good morning.
Good morning. Aloha, Rick. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak. And I have a lot of praise for the police, as I have a lot in my family. And I would say the media is really good at doing what they want with agendas. So I know the police are out there doing a great job. And as we know, the presence of police force or even military keeps the bad guys from doing what they're doing.
Excellent. Eric, thank you for taking the time and for sharing. Eric is responding to a call out that if you support HPD, why, and if you do not, would want to know why as well. Eric, thank you, and all the best to your family who also serve. We're off to Mililani, where Bob is online. Bob, 7:48 in the morning. Good morning.
Good morning, Rick and officers. I fully support the police department, always have. I learned early on in my life, back in the 50s, to respect policemen. And also, I have a son who's in District 5, I believe, and he's a policeman. And you guys just do a really good job out there. Thank you so much for your service. Have a good day.
Thank you very much, Bob. Indeed, we appreciate the feedback and the opportunity to share your thoughts. At 7:49, very short break, primetime traffic and more. We return at 7:52 in the morning here on News Radio 830, KHVH. And once again, I had requested, if anybody would like to share their thoughts about the service of HPD officers, we would love to hear from you, and let's do that now. Fred joins us in Honolulu. And Fred, I want to thank you for your call very much. Aloha to you.
Hey, aloha, Rick. Hey, I just want to give my support to the Honolulu police. Been living here in Hawaii for 30 years, and I don't know what we'd do without you guys. Really do appreciate you, and I just want to thank you. Listen, anytime we got the coffee shop downstairs, and anytime any of those guys in blue need a cup of coffee in the morning, at the beginning of the shift, at the end of the shift, stop in. It's on the house for anybody in blue. I appreciate y'all.
I thought I recognized your voice, Fred. I know that voice, my brother. I can tell already. Wow, thanks for giving a call.
I try not to lose that. I still park the car in the Harvard Yard.
There we go. Love it. Fred, thanks so very much for the call. Gentlemen, reactions to Fred's call?
Well, thank you very much, Fred. That's very nice of you to say. Appreciate it.
Very kind indeed, and taking the time to do so, Fred. Final call for the SHOPO Hour goes to Jim out in Kaimuki. And Jim, you're on the air with the fellas. Good morning.
Good morning. I just wanted to give my support as well. Love you guys and everything you do for us. I had a quick question regarding when a crime is reported, meaning that if I made a call to 911 and ultimately the police came out, fire came out, it was great. They gave the gentleman that created the crime a warning and ultimately did not take a police report. Would that actually be tallied? And I think that's one of the concerns our community has, is that even though, a crime report isn't filled out, is that actually considered and tallied as part of the statistics that we take?
Great question. Thank you very much for posing it, and thank you for your comments as well. Gentlemen?
Yeah, so, Rick, the first thing, a couple things, just trying to navigate that. If police intervene and we come to a scene and a crime occurred, we have an obligation then to document that. It doesn't mean that there needs to be prosecution on that criminal case, but a case would be generated and then the complainant could choose to 172 it or not participate and not prosecute. But it doesn't mean it wouldn't be documented. With that being said, if police show up to a scene, maybe the community felt that a crime occurred, but if investigation took place and there was no criminal activity found to happen, then sometimes responding officers would document that in a mispub type of case, just to document who was there, what was the circumstances, and to state that there's nothing criminal that happened, but just for documentation purposes.
Gotcha. Thank you very much for the call, and much appreciation. Leaves us a few minutes before the top of the hour with the gentleman in studio. That is, of course, the brothers of SHOPO and more. I have we mentioned it briefly, but I'd like to get your take. Now, more advancement in pursuit of new jail facilities for Oahu specifically, now being touted at over $900 million for a new jail. And difference between jail, prison, etc. But my goodness, gentlemen, $900 million? Is that?
Are we talking about a Ritz-Carlton type of property? I mean, I don't know. Not to be sarcastic, you can't build it for cheaper? I don't know.
3-bedroom, 2-bath per cell? I'm not sure.
Bottom line, we need it. Let's just get it done already. Because how long have they been messing around with this thing? Get it done, Simple.
And the flip side is, what's the cost of not building it?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. What's the cost of not building? I mean, we built the rail. Whatever your opinion is on the rail, that expense was... I know you have thoughts about the rail, Rick. Sorry, I didn't mean to go down I saw the look on your face. I was like, I didn't mean to open this up.
I'm glad you brought it up with a minute and a half remaining. What could I fit in? Possibly. But one of the things, and I'll just throw it out there, I think that this inflationary number is being touted once again in the agenda of those who no longer want to prosecute crime and want no bail and want ... And I think this is a component of that. So you're right, get it done, but let's not be morons and just be unrealistic and not efficient, because it is a need. It needs to be filled, but don't fill it with, a bunch of side stuff. Side stuff. That's a new word for the show. Side stuff.
I appreciate the discussion on the topic because it needs to be discussed and a decision needs to be made to actually do this. If it costs money, it costs money. That's just part of the way things work. Yeah. When you're going to build something new, it's going to cost money, right? But I'll tell you what's going to be a greater cost, and that's deregulating things and decriminalizing things. That's going to be an ultimate cost. If you don't believe me, look at Seattle, look at San Francisco, look at California.
The whole state.
And Rick, in this perfect utopia, we wouldn't have any crime, and we could show up as beat cops and street cops and show up, and if we didn't have to take anybody to jail or generate any criminal cases, believe you me, we're totally good with that. But that's just not the reality we live in. And when it comes to this, prison, we've determined what the difference between prison and jail is, but we need to house people that if the judges feel that they need to be incarcerated for a period of time, we need to give the judicial system and really the community the flexibility to be able to do that. Because letting people out simply because jails and or prisons is overcrowded is not going to keep the community safe.
On that note, I'm going to add an exclamation point and assign it to Brother Steve Keogh, because the three of us are going, wow, what is Steve talking about? My goodness, that was good. That was damn good. Brother Nick, welcome back. Be sure to join us again next week, I hope.
Yes, I think so. Thank you.
That'd be great. Brother Steve.
Love you, brother. Appreciate the time always. Thank you.
And Brother
Okay.
Mark.
Thanks, Rick. Thanks for the forum. Appreciate it.
Hey, we're going to do it again next week without a doubt. And I want to thank all of our friends dialed in for joining us. It is the SHOPO Hour every Monday at this time.